Hey everyone, it's Megan here from Meghan Makes Do, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Dakota Beanie. Today I'm using Wool of the Andes tweed, worsted weight, and down heather, as well as a G crochet hook, which is a 4.25mm crochet hook. So definitely check your gauge and use whatever hook or yarn size that you feel is appropriate. To start, we're going to make a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to work the brim or the band of our hat first. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 10. So for this tutorial, I'm making the adult size. If you're looking for child or toddler size, you can go ahead and head to the link in the description below and find the different information that you need there. Then for row 1, I'm going to work into the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to work a half double crochet. And then I'm going to work a half double crochet into each chain across. So since I started with a chain of 10 and I skipped the first one, I'll have 9 half double crochet stitches in each row. Okay, so here's our last stitch of row 1 of the brim. That's what your first row will look like. Then we're just going to chain 1 and turn. And from here on out, so rows 2 and beyond, we're going to only be working in the back loop. So we're going to see, you can see that here's our back loop. We're going to work a half double crochet in the back loop only. And we're going to do that in each stitch across. So again, this is going to create a nice ribbed beanie for us, like a ribbed band on our beanie. So by working in the back loops only, it also makes the band extra stretchy and gives it a nice, beautiful finished look. So continue to work half double crochets in the back loop only all the way across for row 2. Then for all the rest of the rows, we're just going to chain 1, turn, and work the same thing. So we're just going to repeat row 2 all the way until our band measures the appropriate length. So since we're making a hat, I like to make my hats with quite a bit of negative ease, which means it's going to be smaller than what your head measurement is. And that's because crochet especially has a tendency to stretch quite a bit, and we want our hats to feel snug and secure. So here's the end of row 3. You can start to see our crocheted ribbing showing up. We're just going to repeat row 2 over and over again, always working into those back loops and working half double crochets until our brim measures 17 inches. So here I finished my band, and I'm going to measure it real quick just to make sure so I can show you. I'm not stretching it or anything. I'm trying to just lay it out flat and see that I have almost 17. So if I stretch it slightly, I get to that 17-inch mark. And that's where I want to be for my adult size hat. You can adjust, you can add and subtract rows here to get the perfect fit for you. But as you can see, it's going to stretch quite a bit, so I don't want to make it the actual circumference of my head. Otherwise, it's going to be way too big once I start wearing it. So now that we've got our band, we're going to bring the ends together, bring these short ends together, and we're going to slip stitch these ends together. So what I like to do is I'll chain 1, and then I'm going to go through the first end of the band and then into the back loop of where I just ended, so my working end of the band, and I'm going to slip stitch those two together. So again, going into the front of the beginning and the back loop of my working row, slip stitch across, and just repeat this over and over all the way across. You'll have 9 slip stitches total. And what this is going to do is it's going to show a nice invisible seam almost on our band. It's going to push those stitches forward and stick with our regular pattern repeat of our band. Okay, so now when I flip it, you can see that it's almost invisible. The pattern looks exactly the same as the other rows do, which I really love. That's how I tend to join my rows when I'm making hats like this. So here we finished our band for the base of our hat, and now we're going to move on to the main body of the hat. Now I'm not cutting up my yarn or anything. I'm just going to continue where I'm at, and I'm going to chain 2. Okay, so the chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch, but then I know I need to evenly work my double crochets. So row 1 of the main body is just double crochets. I need to evenly work that all the way around my band. So I'm going to do a bit of math to do this, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But I want to show you, so I had worked out that I need about 2 double crochets per row around my band, but not quite. So what I'm going to do is work 2 double crochets into the end of each row of my band, and then I'm going to skip a few. So I'm going to work just 1 double crochet in, I don't know, every 3rd or 4th row. I'm only going to work 1. Does that make sense? So I'm working almost 2 double crochets into each end of the row, but I'm skipping some. And the reason why is because in order for this pattern to work, we need to have a multiple of 9 stitches. So we want to work a multiple of 9 double crochets around the band of our hat. And for the adult size, I do recommend that you have 72 stitches for the main body of your hat. So I'm just going to continue working my double crochet stitches around the edge until I have 72. And again, I'm trying to place those as evenly as possible. Okay, so you're getting the idea. This is what it's going to look like when you're finishing your row 1 of the main body. So to go into a little more detail on how to figure this out for yourself so that you can easily add stitches evenly around your band, just grab a calculator and a piece of paper and a pencil, and I can show you just simply what the math is that I do. So I know I need 72 stitches around my hat, and that my band was 39 rows. So if I divide that, I'm going to get 1.8, which means I need 1.8 stitches in each end of my row. So in each row of the end of my band. So not quite 2. So I know that I need to work almost 2 stitches in every end of row, but I'm going to skip a few in there. If I did 2 stitches per row, I end up with 78. If I subtract the 72 from that, I know I have 6 extra stitches. So I know 6 times around the edge of my brim, I need to only work 1 double crochet into the end of that row. So I'm just going to space those 6 single double crochet stitches around my band as best as possible. It's not an exact science. Just do it so that it looks best for your hat and what you're pleased with, but this simple math can help you kind of figure out how to evenly place your double crochets around the band of your hat. So I'm just going to continue working my double crochets all the way around, and then I'm going to end up joining this round together. Okay, so here we are at the end. Remember, our chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet that I made. Now I'm not going to turn or anything. I'm just going to continue to work in joined rounds all the way around the top of my hat. So for row 2, again, our chain 2 does not count as a stitch. I'm going to work a back post double crochet around the first 3 stitches. So you're going to work 3 back post double crochets. Then we're going to work 6 front post double crochets. So here I'm pushing the post to the front, so I'm going behind it. And you'll see that it's going to start kind of weaving in and out. So our back posts are going to sit back and our front posts are going to come forward. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So here I've worked my 6 front post double crochets. After my 3 back post double crochets, I'm going to repeat those 9 stitches over and over all the way around my hat. So then we'll work 3 back post double crochets and then 6 front post double crochets. And that will complete round 2. Okay, so we finished row 2 and we slip stitched into the first stitch to join. Now we're going to start our first cable row. So I'm going to chain 2, this is round 3. Again, we're going to start with 3 back post double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now we're going to do our first cable. Okay, so here we can see our 6 front post double crochet stitches. I'm going to start with the first, well, with the left 3. And I'm going to work a front post treble crochet. So I'm yarning over twice before I start. And into the 4th front post double crochet from the right. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where I'm going to work my first front post treble crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to work another front post treble crochet around the 5th post from the right. And then another one on the 6th post from the right. So I'm working the left 3 stitches first, and then I'm going to go back and work the first 3. Okay, so here we have our first 3 stitches for our cable. Now I need to go back and work the first 3 front post double crochets. So I'm going to go all the way back to the first one and work a front post treble crochet around the first front post double crochet in our set. Okay, so I'm crossing over. And then I'm going to do the next 2. So then work a front post treble crochet around the second front post double crochet of the row below. And then we're going to work our 3rd one. So front post treble crochet around the 3rd front post double crochet. So we've basically switched those stitches. We've moved one set of stitches, set of 3 from one side to the other side. This is what it's going to look like when you're done with that cable row. And then again, for row 3, we're just going to repeat those 9 stitches again. So my 3 back post double crochets, and then a cable. So just like before, you're going to work a front post treble crochet around each of those, but you're going to start with the 4th stitch. So we're going to do 4, and then 5, and then 6. So I like to think of it like that, that they're all numbered. All those front post double crochets are numbered. And I'm just changing the order in which I do my front post treble crochets. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to work a front post treble crochet around number 1, and then around number 2, and then around number 3. And you might have to kind of pull it apart a little bit to see that third one in there. It can kind of get stuck in the middle. And that's our cable row. So I'm just going to continue to repeat those 9 stitches all the way around my hat until I get to the very front. Okay, so now for our 4th round, let me slip stitch to join real quick. Again, I'm going to start with a chain 2. Again, this does not count as a stitch here and throughout. And again, I'm going to start with those 3 back post double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then I'm going to work my 6 front post double crochets. We're back to double crochets this time. But I'm going to show you that the first ones you want to work around are kind of hidden behind. So remember we worked those stitches first, the last row. We're going to work them first again this row, but this time they're in the right order. They're just behind. So you might have to pull those top 3 stitches back a little bit in order to see the ones. There's like 3 on top and 3 in back. The 3 on top, you might have to pull over to the left a little bit in order to see them. And we're going to work a front post double crochet around each of those front post treble crochets. Just now, those 3 that we worked first are actually in the back. Okay, see how they kind of like, this is how the cable works. You're just moving stitches from one side to the other and back again. Okay, so we've worked the first 3 that were in the back. Now we're going to work the ones that are in the front. So again, working a front post double crochet, and we're just going from right to left all the way across. So work the ones in the back first, and then the ones in the front. And this is for row 4. So this row can be a little bit tricky just because those 3 at the back can be really hard to see. So here you can see that we've cabled and now we're going straight again. And we just repeat those 9 stitches all over again, all the way around the hat. So our 3 back post double crochets, here's number 3. And then we're going to work the 6 front post double crochets. Again, pulling the front ones out of our way so we can reach those back ones. So here's 1. Again, I got to kind of pull the front ones out of the way. Here's 2. And this one's the trickiest one here. I definitely have to move those front ones out of the way to get to my 3rd one. And once I have those back ones, it's easy to see those front ones, no problem. And I'll just continue working. Here's number 4. And number 5. And number 6. So like I said, just repeat those 9 stitches all the way around your hat. Okay, so I've made it all the way back around, and I'm going to slip stitch into our first back post double crochet and then chain 2. Okay, so now I'm just repeating what I did before. For this row, this is row 5, so I'm going to do again 3 back post double crochets and then 6 front post double crochets. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So here's our 3 back post double crochets. And then again, just like our other row, we're going to make some front post double crochets. I'm going to make 6 of those, just going right to left. We're not twisting. This is not a cable row. So the cable row and then the row after the cable row are probably the trickiest rows or rounds that we have for our hat. And after that, it's pretty much smooth sailing. Just front post and back post double crochets for this row. Okay, and again, I'm just going to repeat those 9 stitches, and I'm going to continue to do that all the way around my hat. Okay, and like I said, we'll just repeat those 9 stitches all the way around, and then from there you're going to repeat rows 3 through 5, so those 3 rows, over and over again until your hat has reached the desired height. So I'm going to make mine about 10 inches for the adult size. Okay, so here you can see what it will look like once you've done all your repeats, and I can know that I can measure my hat, and I'm going to try to make mine about 10. It's going to be a little bit taller. I like a little slouch in my hat. If you want to make it an inch or so smaller, that's totally fine. You can try it on at this point and see if you want to add more or less rows to get the fit that you want. So now I want to show you how to close up your hat once you're all done. Okay, so this is how I close almost all hats that I've designed. I find it to be the easiest way. It gives me a nice, cute little top to my hat. So I'm going to cut a long piece of yarn. Here we go. And then I'm going to pull it all the way through, pull that stitch all the way through now that I'm done with the top of my hat. And this is what I'm going to use to seam up the top. So you're also going to need to grab a blunt-tipped tapestry needle and just thread the end of your yarn onto the needle. Okay, so let's get our yarn on there. Okay, and then I'm going to fold my hat in half as best I can. Just kind of eyeball it, make sure that you're getting it pretty even here. We want to have it fully in half. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch both sides of the top together right where my join is. So I'm just going to put a stitch right here. So insert my needle from front to back through both sides of the hat. And I like to do it twice just to make sure it's really secure. Okay, so what's that has done is given us 2 circles at the top of our hat. So we have 2 loops here. Then I'm going to fold the hat in half the other way. So I'm bringing those 2 circles and folding them into the center. So the center of the little circle needs to come into the center of the hat. Okay, and then we're just going to stitch that all the way through. So make sure you're going through both centers of the circles as well as that center stitch that we already made. And then make sure that's real secure. Again, I like to go through twice here just because otherwise it's a little bit too loose. Okay, so now we have 4 circles or loops at the top of our hat. And what we're going to do is we're going to break each one of those loops. The center of the loop is going to come to the center of the hat. So again, working from the outside in, I'm just going to stitch the center of that loop to the center of the hat. Okay, and again, I like to go through twice. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that for the next 3 loops. So again, bring the center of your loop, you're basically folding it in half, and then stitching it in place into that middle area of the hat. And then just repeat this 2 more times until all 4 loops have been brought into the center of the hat. Okay, so here you can see I now have 8 loops at the top of my hat. So what I do from here is I'm going to go through the center of each one of those loops and I'm going to draw it down into the center of the hat. So all the way to the inside of the hat this time. I'm just going to put my needle from the inside of the loop out and then draw it down into the center of the hat. And I'm going to do that again for all the rest of the loops. So then I bring my needle from the inside of the hat up through the center of the next loop. So this part can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so I brought it through the center of the loop, inside to the outside, and now I'm going to pull that loop to the center by pushing my needle down to the inside of the hat and pulling that yarn tight. So I'm drawing those loops in and closing them up into the center of the hat. I'm going to repeat that for every loop I have. I'm just drawing those center loops into the middle of the hat. So this can be a little time consuming. Take your time. You might have to feel around and poke your fingers in there to make sure that you're getting every single loop. So it helps to count as you go to make sure that you've got 8 loops that you've secured into the center of the hat. So just continue to repeat that all the way around until they're all secure in the middle. So this is what it will look like when you're all done. There's a nice smooth surface here at the top. Easily attach a pom-pom there, or you can just leave it as is, but it gives a nice smooth rounded top to your crochet hat. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video tutorial for the Dakota Beanie. If you're looking for written instructions, you can find those over on the blog, meghanmakesdo.com. I'll put links below to the yarn I used, the hook I used, and of course to the written pattern on my blog. Don't forget to like and subscribe.